So I'm going to bounce past to this video here from Charles Forte. I hope that's how you say your name, Charles. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that. Let me make this drop for CEO. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm going to drop this for you, CEO, so you can't say that I don't do it. I love that. I love that. Okay, so this is Charles's video. Let me pull this back up here so I can control what the video does. And here comes Winston because he knows I'm about to start presenting. I guess because my voice changes, he knows that I will give in and give him rubbies, but I'm going to not do that because I'm not going to give him rubbies. He's going to leave me alone, right, y'all? And we're going to train him to leave me alone when I'm doing this. So sorry, Winston, I'm ignoring you. Okay, here we go, y'all. Let me turn this up for y'all. I like the video. Y'all make sure y'all go and give him a like. Let's scoot this back. All right, here we go.
Star on my team that I'm building up. I will have the greatest team in history. They'll never lose. Nobody will come within 70 points of this team.
Hold on, let me go back. Sorry.
And I'll tell you what, if I were ever, I'd be the greatest women's basketball coach in history. Because I don't like LeBron James. I like Michael Jordan much better. But I'd go up to LeBron James. It doesn't matter. I'd say, LeBron, did you ever have any desire to be a woman? Because what I'd love you to do is star on my team that I'm building up. I will have the greatest team in history. They'll never lose. Nobody will come within 70 points of this team. Now we have to change that, and we have to make it okay to talk about it. You know, the young lady I was talking about is afraid to talk about it. She's shunned and she's canceled when she talks about it. This is crazy. Right, Kellyanne? I see my...
All right, let's get into it right now because yet again, we have another example of the deranged, delusional, dangerous reality that the left wants all of us to accept as truth. And it's not. And it seems like now we have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where it's coming back to bite them in the you-know-what. So let me just go ahead and catch you guys up on what's been happening right now in the WNBA because they continue to embarrass themselves. And so you have this situation going on after WNBA player, as you see on your screen, number 8 right there with the Fever jersey on, Sophia Cunningham, came out advocating for women to be protected from men and their sport. And as a result of her defending women, you had other players and coaches in the WNBA come out against her, as it seems like they forgot exactly why they have a W in their league's name. And so now, as a result of them taking this position, you just heard President Trump speaking out as far as, hey, if he was a WNBA coach, since there seems to be this acceptance of men playing in their league now, he would go about recruiting players like a LeBron James type to dominate the league and pretty much never lose a game if we want to be honest and really think about it. But the reason why I want to get into this is because this is a prime example of the loony liberal left and exactly the direction they will take this country if they are allowed to versus the right. And so we got a lot to get into, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so those are his politics, not necessarily all mine, but I do believe that this is kind of loony, right? I mean, the president is making jokes about it, but it is kind of like the truth, right? If they start allowing retired NBA players into the WNBA as female players, whoever's team has the most transgender females is going to be the team that dominates the league, right? To me, it's just like, if you want to do that, why don't you just have the WNBA play the NBA once a year? I'm sure that would generate lots of revenue, that the WNBA and the NBA would be teaming up in such a way like that, you know, kind of like playing, against each other, going head to head, like I think that would garner up more participation from WNBA fans and NBA fans to kind of like come together than allowing men to play in women's basketball. It just seems like so weird. I don't know. But yeah. So let's say Ola Rock says, folks gotta relax. Of course, they're gonna mock WNBA because they stand up against BS. So now they politicize everything and use information as a weapon. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. They are not allowing that to happen. Trump just doing what Trump does. Yeah, to distract us from all of the craziness going on in the world wide, etc. It's YouTube. I'm gonna keep it surface level. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's just a conversation. Like we're just like, this is what has been on, the president is talking about it. People at the coffee shops are talking about it. People are looking at each other like, when it comes up at work on certain TVs, they want to say something, but we don't, because, clearly like we're at work. But I mean, it is something that we consider because it's like, again, I know like as a woman, I just worry that there'll be less spaces for us to be just us. I just don't think that's fair. It's cool, be whoever you want to be, but don't also just make it so uncomfortable for me that I feel like I don't have any rights either. So, but we covered this last week. This was the coach, the lady looking down over here with the top coat on. This was the coach that wore that shirt that said, trans kids matter or something like that. And it was in response to Sophie Cunningham coming out and saying that she believes female sports should be for females or biological females only. So she's kind of like getting smacked on the hand for that.
Because apparently now you have former NBA players who are saying, okay, if you guys are all welcoming open arms to men playing in your sport, then we'd like to enter our names as far as being eligible to join the league. And let's see how many WNBA teams come, running for men who now identify as women in order to play WNBA basketball. Let's see how many teams come running to snatch up 6'10", 250-pound men, basically, who can jump higher, run faster, and are stronger in every way. And now, because they identify as women for the purpose of basketball, want to join the league. Let's see what comes about that, right? So we got a lot to get into, ladies and gentlemen. And so let's just go ahead and start right here, because you had ESPN praising Minnesota Lynx coach, ladies and gentlemen, who, after the statements from Sophia Cunningham, she wore and take a look at this, trans kids belong shirt. And so that obviously ended up spurring this fake virtue signal.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. So trans kids belong, when Sophie never said anything about trans kids at all. She just said trans women in the NBA, and so the coach wore the shirt, and now people are showing up to the WNBA games to troll Sophie with the shirt on, being completely disrespectful, very gross, right? And remember when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, coaches and team owners, they were like, no, don't do this, don't politicize, don't bring your personal politics onto the court or onto the field, don't mess up our franchises with your personal protests. Okay, so then why do these people get to do this to Sophie during the WNBA games? Why do coaches get to do it to her? And look at now, she started a trend where now people are wearing that shirt she wore that day. So
where you now had liberal couples wearing trans kids belong t-shirts at WNBA games that nobody's watching really. And so that this is where we're at right now. This is where we're at, and we'll end up going even further, if the left is if it was up to the left. Yeah, and so apparently Sophia Cunningham may be the only player in this league who has the guts and the courage to actually stand up and define what a woman versus a biological man is, and why they shouldn't be competing against each other, because even her coach, the Fever's coach, Stephanie White, claims she's not educated enough, ladies and gentlemen, from a scientific standpoint. They want to use science now to decide if men should compete in women's sports. Really, they don't know if the science tells them. Once again, this is the whole thing that women were fighting for, their own spaces, being able to have their own space. I mean, wasn't that the whole point of creating a WNBA? If not, I mean, we would just have an NBA.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I don't understand about the women. That's why it's like the feminist women. I don't understand you. Like to not know what a woman is or the definition of a woman, and then to go out here and protest for trans rights, transgender rights. Like, don't you know, like, you are taking more and more and more of your rights away. That is an oxymoron. That person is the patriarchy. The patriarchy that now wants to try, having the luxuries of getting some subsidies that women get, I guess, because women get they're more able to get into like homeless shelters, or they're more able, or they're the most of the people on government benefits assistance, like maybe health and food, like food stamps and stuff. I believe, right? Women are more possible to be in a program like that than a man. So now you're allowing trans women to come in and basically rob you from those programs, or rob those programs away from you. The programs that you fought so hard to get because the patriarchy was bad. Remember? Patriarchy bad. Remember? And now all the patriarchy has to do is put on a dress, and you're like, he's one of us too. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, his face is how I was looking when I was listening to this, and I was driving this morning like, what?
Yeah, and let the women, have at it if they could make it, right? Nonetheless, listen to what the coach had to say. Check this out.
What's your stance? What is your stance on men or athletes who test as biological male participating in women's sports? What's your personal stance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say that I'm educated enough from a scientific standpoint. I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer. I just don't. I do think, when we think about various levels of sport, various governing bodies of sport and things that go into that, like I said, I'm not educated enough at the different levels. I know growing up, I played with the boys all the time.
So
there weren't girl sports.
Would you welcome a biological male in WNBA?
Again, it's like, I don't know. When we talk about biological male and scientifically where we are, I think it's a totally different scenario. As I said, I'm not educated enough in terms of transgender and transitioning to give you a smart answer. I would say though that I just don't feel like exclusion is an answer, and I think that we need to have deeper, more layered conversations.
And you'd be okay with them in the locker room?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't make any of this up, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, really. And so that is
So I want y'all, like, if there are any ladies watching me, I want you ladies to just keep it right there at that last question that was asked. He said, do you want them in your locker room? Do you like, how would you feel with them in your locker room? Like, listen to the last question that was asked.
coach of the Indiana Fever. So you can't make any of this up, ladies and gentlemen.
I just don't feel like exclusion is an answer, and I think that we need to have deeper, more layered conversations.
And you'd be okay with them in the locker room?
Everybody, Annie goes.
Yeah.
Would you be okay with them in the locker room? So I want y'all to remember that. Would you be okay with them in the locker room? I had to write that down so I remember to ask you guys at the end, right? Would you, I mean, men, would you guys feel weird if women just were like coming in and out of your male locker room at LA Fitness or Planet Fitness or Crunch Fitness, wherever you work out, 24-hour fitness? You know, would you mind women coming in and out of your locker rooms? Or would you be okay with it? Not trans women, but just women in general. Just, would you care? I would care if men were just leisurely walking in and out of the female locker room. That would creep me out. Okay. Man in a wig in there with me, changing, getting undressed, blowing his hair out while I'm trying to put my clothes on at the lockers. You know how the lockers are in LA Fitness. You know, you got the little locker room section, and then you got the section where the little mirror is, so you can kind of see yourself getting dressed. You know, imagine if a trans woman is standing at that mirror, blow drying her hair out, looking into the mirror, but really looking at you back there changing. Like, how are you going to feel about that? I would feel weird. I'm not going to lie. I would be so uncomfortable. I probably would just work out and never utilize the gym. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to save money and cut costs. So they're like, if we make it horribly uncomfortable for the women, they will take their asses home to shower after the gym instead of showering here, because we're sick of pulling their hair out of the clogs, you know, out of the drains. We're sick of their hair clogging the drains.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
you can't make any of this up, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, really. And so that is the coach of the Indiana Fever, Sophia Cunningham. That's why I said, hey, she must be the only one in this league who has some confidence to speak up and say was basically, yeah, obvious. As this coach, she does not know the science, and she's not clear enough on this.
Like, for Blue, that's a funny question, but it's a good question. He says, Blue asks in the chat, what about lesbos in female rooms? And even then, I don't feel uncomfortable, right? Because like, we're struggling with the same things, trying to hide the same things as the things with us go up and down throughout the month. You understand what I'm saying? So at least then, like, what we have in common are the things that are biologically going on with us month to month to month to month, you know? And so there's a certain level of understanding and respect between each other, even though you like women, like they will go out of their way to make sure that they're not making you feel uncomfortable, you know, or at least in situations where I've been at the gym, you know, with lady couples, like they're not creepy, you know, but I mean, that's just my experience. Possibly another young lady watching this or lady watching this in the chat might have a different experience with lesbos at the gym, but they've always been very pretty much respectful to me. So I wouldn't feel any way about that. It's just the man in there dressed as a woman who's in there, you know, no matter how you slice it, it's just uncomfortable because it's a man. Like, we were just talking about, you know, panties and cleaning underwear last night on Nino Nation's show. Shout out to Nino Nation. Like, we don't want men to see the icky things about us. You know, it's not about hating a trans person and not wanting them around us. It's more so we just don't want to share our secrets with people that are on the outside.
Science, ladies and gentlemen. I find that quite ironic. Now they want to make sure the science matches, which, I mean, somebody must have skipped, seventh grade biology, as far as being, I mean, really, how much science do we need to help us figure out the difference between men and women, and why there's a W, why you had your whole entire league created specifically for women. But here we are with this tomfoolery, as what I could call it, tomfoolery.
And Blue's comment right here is a perfect example of what I was saying last week. The men usually don't feel uncomfortable by a trans man being in their locker room, because there is no imposed threat, because that trans man didn't all of a sudden gain however many years of testosterone and is now equal level of strength to him. He's still going to be able to overpower the trans man. Right? Like, but am I going to be able to overpower a trans woman if she's the size of these NBA players that we are about to see? Absolutely not. That's why it's scary for us, because there's still like imminent danger in a place where we're supposed to be able to feel like there is none.
This WNBA coach tries to use the logic and the example of, well, when I was younger, I would always compete against the boys, and that's how I grew up. Well, of course, because when you're 5 years old or 10 or 13 years old, sure, it may be pretty fair to say that boys and girls can compete on a certain level where it's not going to be that big of a difference. And then there's this little thing that happens called puberty, where testosterone kind of kicks into overdrive for young men as they grow and develop. And you don't kind of really get that same effect with girls as they grow into women. And so as a result, men are able to develop more muscle, more strength, greater lung capacity, all these things that make us biologically different, and give men an extreme advantage when it comes to physical abilities and activities overall, pretty much, which is why at the highest levels, we don't let men compete against women.
Right.
Because we understand that, if you're trying to protect women and their sports, then you might not want to let men come in and ransack the place, because if you do, then it will be dominated by them, and then you have nothing. But apparently the WNBA, that seems to not be a big concern of theirs to clarify. But nonetheless, you got these woke coaches using weak excuses, as you heard her say. Exclusion is not the answer. That's what she believes, ladies and gentlemen, that you can't exclude anyone. It's just not fair, if you ask her.
Why?
But she's not the only one. Let's continue. This is all quite entertaining to really look, because what ends up happening next, as we're going to get into, ladies and gentlemen, is leaving the WNBA with quite the conundrum now, as they've left this door open now. And so, but first, here goes another one of these WNBA coaches who seems to want to be all inclusive and all in on letting everybody, join in on the party. Take a listen.
It's about inclusivity. It's about allowing everyone to be their authentic self. I'm big on that, just because I have been criticized for my height, for my ethnicity. I've been in those "you shouldn't belong here" many times. And for me, I don't want that space, especially Golden State, to ever feel like that. So I'm all about women, little girls deserving to play, and that includes trans women.
Yeah, and so there you go. Now you got a WNBA coach basically using her experience as far as what she experienced because of her ethnicity, and she's comparing that to allowing biological men to be included to play in the women's sports. This is where we're at.
It's like, no matter how you were bullied as a young lady, to this coach that just made this statement, you were still a woman while you were getting picked on for being Asian, while people were telling you you don't belong here. You know, you were still a woman going through that. You know? You were a woman. Women go through things. You know, if you are a trans person, you're going through something, but you're going through something as a biological male. Like, that's the science of it. That's the, you know, like a lizard can't just all of a sudden start living like a bird. You know, like that is just like, it's so crazy to me. Like, you can still be whatever, picked on, Asian, tall, you don't belong in women's basketball, you don't belong in America. You can still be all of those things and be a woman. Like, a man didn't go through those things you did as a woman. So like, I don't get, like, how is that not being inclusive, that you say you don't get to call yourself a woman because as a woman you don't get a period, as a woman you don't have ovaries, as a woman you know, you don't have the ability to produce life, like, or bring life forward into the world, incubate a child, which you would need an ovaries, eggs, right? Like, what is wrong? I just don't get what is happening. And you know how he keeps talking about them being liberal lefties and all of that. Like, I'm not really big into politics that way, to be like labeling what people are, but to me it's bad on both sides, because you got Donald Trump joking about it, and then you have the other side like really wasting their time, money, and energy trying to make everybody else's rights be infringed upon. You know, it's like, give us some of your rights, we need some of your rights, give up some of your rights for these people over here. And I don't get that of the Democrats either. Like, you know, I don't get either side. It's not a joking matter, and it's also not a matter that we need to be spending billions and billions of dollars for, just so people feel like the thing that they say they are. Like, a lizard cannot fly like a bird. And no matter how the lizard feels about it, he will not grow wings and start flying. So it's not bad to say that the lizard won't fly. It's just a biological fact.